Kid in town, author, lecturer, and nutritional supplement guru Adam Harman. For the next hour, he'll be unleashing the power of natural medicine and conscious living. So listen up, America. It's the Adam Harman Show.
We are back. We are back, and you're listening to the Adam Harman Show here on 790 AM Talk Radio KABC. We have got a great show today. On today's show, we have a truly awesome guest. I actually first learned about this very special person about 6 years ago when my teenage son, Steven, said, "You got to check this girl out. Her videos are amazing on YouTube." Well, here she is. Teal SWAN is an internationally recognized spiritual leader and an influential new voice in the field of metaphysics. She was born with a range of extrasensory abilities, including clairvoyance, clairsentience, clairaudience. Teal survived 13 years of physical, mental, and sexual abuse before she escaped her abuser at age 19 and began her own process of recovery and transformation. Today, she shares what she has learned with millions of people, teaching them how to find forgiveness, happiness, freedom, and self-love in their lives. She reaches a wide audience through a range of powerful and accessible online resources, through various publications, media interviews, frequency artwork, and synchronization workshops that she presents around the world. And we're going to announce a few of those coming up because they are really amazing and truly inspirational events. Teal SWAN, welcome to the Adam Harman Show.
Thanks for having me.
You know, I have literally listened to so many of your videos, and literally we've had Teal SWAN parties around my apartment in Culver City. It is so we're partying with you, girl. All right. Bottom line on the whole thing is we have so many questions, and we'd like to have a day-long show with you, and you'll tell people about your events so they can have more time with you. But we have some questions we'd like to be able to ask you, and maybe there'll be some people who'll call up and well, our lines are already starting to fill up here, but we have lots of questions. So let's start out right from the beginning. Okay, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, here we go. You know, relationships out there, they seem to be changing these days with such a high divorce rate and people wanting greater personal freedom. You know, why is this happening? What are your instincts telling you? What's going on here?
Well, society has changed a great deal over the last few generations, even the last two or one generation. So there's no roles anymore. This is what we're seeing disappear. So the traditional male roles and female roles being something that changed makes it so that our needs for one another have changed. It used to be that the common discomfort that happens in a relationship is overcome by the fact that a female, for example, really needed the man to work and the man really needed the female in this specific role in the household. So there was a lot more commitment based on those needs to making it work. Now it's all about personal satisfaction. And so the problem there being that the nature of a relationship is that it's personal expansion, which is not always going to feel good. We attract people based on what we suppress, and we suppressed those things within ourselves for good reason, because we felt shame around them. I should say we were shamed around them as a child.
Right.
And so the encountering of the other person, who's essentially the external embodiment of those aspects we have suppressed, makes it so that we will react to them eventually in the relationship the same way we reacted towards those aspects within ourselves, which is to reject, deny, disown, and turn against them. So a part of every normal relationship actually is conflict. But if our only motive now for being in a relationship is personal satisfaction, we run into those conflicts and roadblocks, our likelihood to stay in those relationships is a lot smaller.
I'm constantly amazed by how many relationships are really based upon looking for the feel-good moments. How do you, I mean, when I know that you're in a lovely relationship right now, but.
Well, it depends on the day, right?
There we go.
That's the thing. I feel like what everybody wants to do is to project the idea that everybody else has a positive relationship, or that somebody has a positive relationship. And especially in my line of work as a public figure, you know, it does a good thing to step up and say, I'm in the perfect relationship. But I feel like that does no justice to the nature of relationships. The nature of relationships is there you have loving times and you also have conflict. And I feel like we need to be talking about that as a reality, because when Hollywood is selling us the idea that relationships should be perfect, you know, it always ends at the wedding. Right. And when we are comparing ourselves to that idea of perfection, then we have no idea what a real relationship is, which is hard. It's hard. Relationships are hard. They're probably the hardest part of our life.
Right.
So, yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, the whole concept of when bad times come, is it about tolerance or is it about acceptance?
No.
What is it about?
No.
What is it? Tell me.
No, okay, when conflict occurs and when you run into those quote-unquote roadblocks in relationships, it's all about seeing it as an opportunity to expand yourself. You wouldn't be running into that conflict if you weren't being asked, in fact, to accept an aspect of yourself that was denied and rejected long ago. It's always indicative of a shadow within yourself. Mm-hmm. So it's like every conflict becomes a commitment to grow and to grow closer, instead of it constantly reviving the question, should we break up because we're not happy in this moment? Should we end this?
Right.
So that, I feel like that commitment is actually something which we need to return to. We need to start embarking into relationships as if they are going to entail growth, not just personal satisfaction.
That's interesting, because then from that perspective, individuals would possibly meet each other on their initial meetup better. They would almost, and I hate to use the terms because it's sort of non-romantic, they'd sort of interview the other individual and they'd I mean, how would a person who's conscious go out there and intertwine and meet with other people from whatever sex they're interested in? I mean,
well,
how is that different?
The first thing would be they would not walk into the world with an expectation to run into Prince Charming. What they would realize is that if they are an adult in today's society, they have fragmented internally. That's what their consciousness has done. It's what all of our consciousness does in order to develop a personality, in order to cope with the world. So what we would recognize before even entering the dating scene is that we are going to run into people who are a match to those fragmented aspects of us. So it's not actually possible to run into the person who is the perfect person. And by the perfect person, we mean never makes us upset.
Right.
So that already would save us a lot of heartache and grief. Then we'd think about compatibility first and foremost.
Yeah.
And commitment.
That's
and
great.
Compatibility is about measuring what I want, what I need, what I feel, what I'm committed to with what this other person genuinely is committed to, what they feel, what they want. Is it a match?
Right. We're going to be heading into a news break right now, so don't touch that dial. We'll be back with more of the spiritual catalyst herself, Teal SWAN. Hey, we are back again, and you're listening to The Adam Harman Show on Talk Radio, 790 AM, KABC. Well, we're here again with our special guest, the spiritual catalyst herself, Teal SWAN. Teal, thanks for staying with us.
Thank you.
So many people speak about abundance, and I know that you've come up with some really great videos on this. I'm wondering if you could share some insights on the subject of abundance and how people can have a better energetic relationship with things like money.
Oh, this could be its own book. Well, the first thing that we have to understand is if we haven't created money or abundance in our life, there are a lot of energetic aspects, psychological aspects going into it that we don't recognize. Because we love to tell a story about money that's just about, I never had access to it. All the powers that be in the world were against me. And I'm not here to say that that's not the case. It's like we understand that some people are born into poverty. Some people are struggling with being homeless. But the reality is that our relationship to this universe is energetic in nature. If we are able to clear up our resistance to money, it must come through. So what we have to recognize is that there are aspects of us that are in fact resistant to money in terms of thoughts and actions. And resistance meaning they pull in the opposite direction of abundance. I'll just give some examples because this dynamic can easily be set up in our childhood, where we have these experiences that create pain around the concept of money. For example, let's say that I am part of a community that sees wealthy people as really bad people. This is quite common in areas that are impoverished because obviously it makes people feel like crap and they don't have money, so they're looking at people with money as if they're the people that are keeping me poor. Now, what happens in those types of communities is that now you stand to lose your community if you become wealthy because you've grown up constantly hearing these messages that wealthy people are horrible people and don't belong with us. And so there's the subconscious aspect, regardless of how much somebody tries for money, that can't do it and doesn't want to do that, doesn't want to make money because it's going to lose its belonging. That's just one example of many patterns that can go into why we are not manifesting money. So we have to find these subconscious areas of resistance that we have to money and to create resolution around them. Another thing that we need to be doing is to fall in love with money. Not as a substitute for anything. So I'm not talking fall in love with it as a substitute for relationships, because it's more important to own 5 Ferraris than it is to have somebody close to you, because it's not. I'm saying fall in love with money as a tool, because it is a very powerful tool. Even the creation of money in the first place is absolutely amazing when you think about it. We went from being limited to what only we could trade to now I have this thing which is universally valuable, and so I can have access to anything that I want and open up the world for us. And I like to give people this little trick, which is that they start to treat money like air. Like you breathe it in, you breathe it out. And so I actually have an active visualization. I sell a meditation, by the way, online that walks you through this if nobody wants to practice it for themselves and actually wants to follow along. But what you do is you imagine breathing in actual dollar bills. So you're just breathing it in like air and breathing it out. And breathing it in and breathing it out, and then breathing it in and keeping it inside of you. So each breath makes you more and more full. And you want to breathe in whatever sum of money makes the most sense to you. It has to be believable. So for some people, that's coins. For some people, it's dollar bills. For some people, it's giant checks. You can do whatever you want, but it creates a feeling within your body of a relaxation around abundance. And that makes you vibrationally a match to abundance showing up.
That's dynamite. I really love that. Hey, we're going to be asking you some questions at the end of the segment in regards to how people can contact you and things you're doing. So we've got to make sure we can allow them to access that as well. Also, a lot of people don't know that you have some really cool books. The one that I think is really wonderful is your latest one, the completion process. What motivated you to write it, and what's it about?
What motivated me to write the completion process is that the way that we deal with post-traumatic stress is completely wrong in society. And that what I mean by post-traumatic stress is everyone has it. Like we love to look at post-traumatic stress disorder as, oh, those people have it, but I don't have it. But here's the thing. If you see somebody who gets emotionally triggered in a relationship, that's post-traumatic stress. It means that at some point in their life, they encountered a trauma that caused them to have a negative association with something. And so, say, the next time they, quote unquote, overreact, it's not really an overreaction, it's an emotional trigger. And what we do in society is that we try to diminish triggers. So all the spiritual field, the psychological field is geared towards whenever you feel the anxiety or any of those, post-traumatic stress symptoms rising up, you find ways to mitigate those. When this process that I created capitalizes on triggers to the exact opposite ends. It's to go straight into the triggers, because what a trigger is it's an aspect of yourself, a trauma that is unresolved. So it's basically calling your consciousness back. So we create active resolution. It's basically a form of soul retrieval that I have made accessible to the general demographic of people on Earth, because I feel like it's incredibly important for people to create resolution for the painful things that they experience in their lives, those things that make it so that we can't live the life that we want to live. We can't have the relationships we want to have. We're not manifesting the kind of finances we need. And so this book is all about that. It's about going back to those aspects that were painful, the ones that have you stuck, and creating a resolution around them in a very powerful way so that you can then take that resolution, I should say, into your current life and future.
That's dynamite. Well, you got me sold on that one. Hey, a question for you here. I hear you talk. I've heard you on videos. There's a part of me that stands there and going, how much psychology, psychiatry, how much science, how much quantum physics did this girl go to school for? And I'm standing there going, she's not that old. You know, I mean, you're in like your early 30s or something. I saw you at Mystic Journeys bookstore. I'm like, where do you get this information from? Is this stuff like downloaded? I mean, this is your time to get a little bit galactic with me here, young lady.
Okay, I can get galactic. Yes, actually, the difficult part about explaining how I know what I know is that people are limited to their understanding of only what they know, which is a single human lifetime, the fact that you have to read books in order to gain information. But the reality of this universe is once your consciousness raises past a certain degree, you are no longer limited by those factors. So you can quite literally download information from the universe at large.
Wow. Wow. It's
You can also remember past lives.
There you go. This is good. Do you do any work in past lives as well? Like in regards to any of your videos?
Very little.
Very little.
I actually do very little. Very
Oh.
little in past lives because they actually apply to your current life so little. And that's something that people who love past life regression hate me saying.
Oh, my
but
goodness.
I am not one of the people who promotes it.
Well, okay. Controversy's okay here on the Adam Harman Show. Hey, speaking about you and accessing you and you accessing all this great information, you've got a lot of upcoming events, these synchronization events. What are you doing? I know something's happening in Chicago, in New York, and what goes on at these events?
What goes on at these events? Oh, my goodness.
Please tell me.
Basically, anything and everything. I don't know what's going to happen before I show up the day of. Somewhat of what makes this the most exciting thing. It makes it nerve-wracking, but also awesome because it's always current.
Uh-huh.
I have no preparation before I stand on stage, and I look at the collective vibration of the group, and I teach according to that on the day.
Wow. That is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I highly recommend individuals look. Where do they find you? Is it tealswan.com? Tell us about your different social media sites. Where do people go?
Oh, I'm all over everything. You go online. I do a YouTube channel where every Saturday I release a new video on whatever I decide to release a video on. So it's kind of like Gamble Chocolates. Everybody sits around on Saturday to see what I'm going to do.
Woo-hoo.
You can find me just by typing my name in on Google. Tealswan.com is my website where you can find access to everything that I do, including these events across the country. I'm doing an online workshop tomorrow, in fact. We do one every month. I'm on East Coast tour, Chicago, April 15th, New York, which is a 3-day workshop, April 20th to 22nd, then Australia in May, and European tour in October, where we're for sure going to be in Stockholm.
Wow.
So you can tune in to see all of these events on my website.
That is great. I also know that your marketing team over there, they've been so nice to me. They actually, for our listeners, they have a 90% off 1-month premium content discount code. It says people could watch our online workshop tomorrow with that. And the code is Adam Harman, ADAMHARMAN. And all you got to do is go to tealswan.com/store/cart. So thank you for that, and thank them for that as well. I really, really appreciate your time on the air and the insights that you're handing us here. I really thank you so much for being a guest on the show. I know that you have a book coming out in October. So if you want to come back on the show again and speak to our thousands of listeners here in L.A., boy, we are here just waiting for it. Can you slip us the title, or is that still secret information?
The title is not going to be released yet, but I will tell you that it's about loneliness and connection. So, it's a world epidemic today, isolation and loneliness, and I have answered.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, Teal Swan, I'd like to thank you so much for being a guest today. Ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much.
Teal Swan. Hey, all right, folks, we're going to take a short break, but stay with us. On our Can You Relate segment, if you have a crazy first date story, this is fun, and you're willing to share it on the air, you might win an awesome prize. Just call 1-800-222-5222. That's 1-800-222-5222 to share your crazy first date story. Come on, we want to hear from you.